welcome back to the Terrible 2 podcast, and we are so happy to have you back for episode 12? 12? For sure? Is it 12? Yeah, I think so.
Is it? This might be 13.
Guys, time is flying
Oh, it's probably 13.
by.
I do the even numbers.
Oh, yeah. Episode 13. We have done 13 episodes. Oh my god. Round of applause, man. Round of
We finally
applause.
hit puberty, guys.
Woo!
Thanks to you. Thanks to you.
Wow. Okay, that was, wow.
Was that
Anyways.
lackluster?
You're just weird. Anyways.
I was about to.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're really weird. Got it. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning back in. If you're new here, I am the host for today's episode, and my name is Lonnie, and this is my co-host,
Teddy.
and we are so happy to have you here, and we hope you stay for the next episode, and so on and so on. If you are a regular, welcome back. We're so happy to see you again. Thank you for always coming back. Thank you for cheering us on, supporting us.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you, we love you, and we appreciate you guys, and we think that you guys are family. So continue to come back, and we'll see you again. So today, I am a little bit intrigued about today's topic because I saw a video, I think on Instagram, and this girl, like, she was doing a dance, and it was like, the more arguments you have means you're just obsessed with each other, or your obsession for blah blah leads to more arguments, something like that. And like, and she was like, and it was like little hearts and stuff, and I'm just like, let's get into that, because I'm like, are we getting into the level of toxic? And so I was trying to figure out a way to form this question, because I feel like trying to go about it a different way may be triggering for a lot of people. So I was like, okay, how do I go about this without triggering anybody, right? And so I think the question for today, does more love equal more arguments?
Ooh.
And I want to like preface by saying when I say arguments, I mean fights, like not discussions, arguments. Like you guys are fighting back and forth and all this stuff, like butting heads, and it could lead to discussions. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm thinking of is like butting heads. Does the more you love a person lead to you butting heads more?
I'm gonna say yes and no. I think there's a middle ground where it's yes and then it becomes no. I think it's yes then no, I should say.
Okay.
So if we think about it, I think so I've heard the saying that a crush is just a lack of information.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Okay. And you have a crush on a person, and you guys start dating, right? The crush is growing from a crush into like a like, into a love. And as it's developing, you get to know more about this person. And that's when disagreements, differences, and all the other things come up. Because that's when you're discovering the person.
Yeah.
So I think with the crush developing into a love and discovering the other person and the way you guys grind against each other, where you guys mesh together well, the arguments are going to be maybe not more violent, more aggressive, and probably more frequent.
Yeah.
Because now all these differences are coming up. You guys are trying to figure out a way to be a unit together. And the love is continuing to grow. And I think that adds passion.
Okay.
And passion has a good and a bad side. Where you're passionate about something, you fight for it, and passion isn't always positive. Like, you can be passionate about something and just be the most negative person towards it ever.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what it's like a mountain. Starts off slow, peaks, and then goes back down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as you're getting to know the person, you're getting to find yourself within that person and find how you and that person coexist. You get into these arguments about things that you want to keep around, things that you don't want to keep around, things that they have, or people they know that you may not agree with, or you may want to get rid of, etc. So all that happening, the arguments are going to be strong. They're going to be big. They're going to take a toll, you know. And I think getting through that is going to be really important, because eventually you'll resolve, you'll compromise, you'll find all these things at the peak. And suddenly the arguments are becoming less. That's when they transition into discussions, or they just go away completely because you guys figured that out. I figured, like, okay, I'm going to talk about us. We used to not get along because of your lack of interest in visual media. She didn't like movies, she didn't like shows, didn't like anime. Like, it was, she kind of went to watch nothing. And I'm huge. I love movies, I love TV shows, I love anime. I even love music. I don't, you know, and there was a point where I was trying to get her to watch things with me, and she wouldn't, and that would grind my gears. I was just like, oh my God, like, if I can't watch it with you, like, who am I going to watch it with? Like, I never get to, because we'd spend time together, and in those time together, I wanted to watch something with her, and she didn't want to watch it, and I was just like, you know, and those are arguments at that time. You know, it was a big thing, and eventually we came to the compromise where we would watch more horror, because she loves horror. Like, she hates watching movies, but if it's a horror movie, you have a better chance of her watching it. Like, we would watch more horror. We would put movies inside a little jar, and then we pick from it. So we're not always watching horror, but it gives us a good chance to watch things that interested either of us. And it's not every time that happens, because she's not always in the mood to watch a movie, but we compromised, and we were like, okay, so you hate media, but I love media, so we're gonna meet in the middle.
We have to meet in the middle.
Because I don't want to always just be doing things by myself.
Exactly.
Because you're a partner, and
you want to do stuff with your partner.
If you like your partner, you're gonna want them to be a part of your things. And they won't always agree. You won't always get them to be a part of your stuff. But like, some things are like a group activity that are better. Like, I've watched movies by myself in the theaters, and I've also watched movies in a group. I prefer one-on-one in the movies, and right under that I prefer by myself, and then under that I prefer a group, right? And anytime I can get her to go with me, I will. I will get you to come with me. And so, huge arguments. I wouldn't say huge, but we had arguments about it. I was just like, I really want you to watch.
We had a lot of arguments.
And those turned into discussions on how can we compromise. And we started compromising. Got you to watch anime. I started watching horror, because I was never really a horror fan, and I was never a slice of life anime fan. She's more slice of life. Like, she used to watch reality TV, so I started to give that a shot. I started to broaden my horizons while she broadened her horizons, and together we broadened our horizons and got a compromise out of it. And the arguments stopped. We now, if anything pops up, it's a discussion. Like, hey, do you want to watch this? Are you in the mood for this? And now that we're, I was going to say parallel play, but we're adults. But we recently discussed like doing separate activities together. Like, I can watch the movie, I can watch a movie I want to watch, and she be there with me coloring or doing whatever she wants to do. And that's another compromise that we made. That was from a discussion, not even an argument. So that's what I'm saying, that the passion, once you transition from a crush or a like into a love that comes with it, creates issues sometimes, because you want the person to do something with you, or you want them to stop doing something, and it's heated. And it depends on how much you see the person. Excuse me. Sick things. How much you see the person, and stuff like that. So you like if you miss somebody, you may not realize it, and it may come out in aggressive ways.
Yeah, that happened with us too. That we were there with
we were missing each
long
other.
Distance and the medium distance, but it was still like getting to us. And there's times like we even spoke about it, like it was kind of weird, but it was like when we'd see each other, we'd fight more than when we were apart from each other. And we're like, that doesn't make sense. Maybe we're just not good for each other. Maybe we just can't be together and can't think. And we then realized, like, no, it's because I miss you so much that it's like now I feel like I'm like rushing my time to be with you and trying to make up for everything. And you know, when you're apart from each other, you don't really want to bring up problems.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring up things that are inconveniencing you or things that your partner does that kind of irritates you. You don't want to bring that up because you're like, well, we're not even close to each other. You know, I don't want anything to be misconstrued. I don't want anything to go haywire. I don't think so. You're a lot more willing to say stuff when you're in person because you're like, well, now we can talk face to face. So now we can have that. But then it just comes off wrong because all that emotion was kind of building up of I miss you, I this and the passion and all this stuff, and you like tend to bicker more when you see each other. And it's not because you don't belong together or being together is just hard. It's just that all that emotion is now coming, and I think like a lot of people are like, you know, you would more likely not say anything because you're together, you don't want to spoil that moment. But I feel like if you're so in love with that person and you truly want your words to be received correctly and vice versa, then yeah, you do wait for face-to-face so that nothing can be misconstrued, nothing can be taken out of context, nothing can be taken wrong because you care about that person so much. And I think that's where that shift kind of happens. And yeah, I just wanted to like cue in on that, but sorry.
No, I agree with you that when emotions are new, sometimes they're misunderstood.
Yeah.
And like me, I was a person that never missed people, so I never thought that would be me. I was like, so when the arguments and the petty, like little things would just spark us, it was like, you know, didn't know what was causing it, but then, you know, like, just the more it happened, and you start to see patterns, and when it happens, you're like, oh, wait, hold on. this is clearly happening at this and this certain times, or like she just went back home, or like stuff like that. And I think it's because, well, at that point, you're getting to know the person, you're getting closer, there's a lot more passion. And I'm not saying the passion dies down. I think you start to understand yourself as a part of the unit more.
Yes.
And so, more discussions, less arguments, less fights.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily become one, but like, I don't know, you mesh together more easily.
I think I would say you become one. I would say that you stay as two individuals, but you become one as in like a unit, like you were saying. You become a unit. You become a duo, and you are as one, but you're still your individual selves. Like that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you keep your own personalities and your own, you know, stuff like that. And it's two separate people, but then you kind of build something together, like two people in a house. You know, like you build a house together, but two people in it.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I think early on, between year like 1 and 3, 1 and 4 maybe, there's gonna be a ton of arguments as you try to like compromise and try to find common ground and find a way through the forest before you see the sunset. You get to the shore, you know all the analogies. And I think then it's not the more love you have, the more arguments you have. Then it becomes the more love, the more understanding, and the less arguments you have.
The more discussions you
Exactly.
have. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I was thinking the exact same thing. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a sure, definite yes or a definite no, because I do agree that, like, especially when you start dating and you start, like, trying to figure out who this person is and stuff like that, you start gaining feelings. And so your love for this person will increase. So, yes, the more you love someone, right, because you love them more than you did in the beginning, and so on and so on. So, but that does lead to a few more arguments. And I say that the reason I say arguments is because yes, there's people who are able to hop into a relationship and discuss right away, right? And I feel as though that's usually more in the case of when you're like 24 and up, maybe 24, 25 and up. But when you start a relationship younger, like us, when we were in that kind of headspace, it's hard to like mentally just acknowledge like, okay, let's not fight right here, you know, like we're still in that phase of everything is like you know, and I think that's what kind of happens a lot is when you're in that beginning space, you don't really know who this person is, and you're getting to know this person. So when you don't know how they react, you don't know how they argue, you don't know if they're an arguer or they're a discusser. Like for a while, you of course, you being older than me, I always assumed that you would be more mature, and that hit me in the face pretty hard quickly. There would be in the beginning where you'd kind of go with my banter. You'd be like, oh, you know, and then after a while you'd be like, hey, straight first name, and I'd be like, oh, government name, and you'd be like, I'm not arguing with you. And for me, that's when that code switched, and that's why I can say, no, that's not the case. Because for me, it became a thing of like pure passion and like that exciting love and that bubble phase and all that stuff and all that, like getting to know them. And then you sat me down and you're like, I'm not going to argue. I love you so much that I don't want to continue to argue with you. I don't want to continue to hurt you. I don't want you to hurt me. And that's my thought process on the no, because I'm like, the more that I realize that I love you is the less that we start to argue and the more we start to discuss. And I think it's kind of how you let it be in the beginning for it to be a yes, you know? So like, if you like the I miss you thing, like when we were long distance and it was like I miss you and I would get things, we let it be there. We let the emotions get to us to the point where we were arguing. And I think it's a huge thing on like controlling of the emotions that creates the high intensity and the increase in arguments and stuff like that, is because when you're just starting to love somebody, right, your love for them is growing, emotions are growing, and you're starting to feel different emotions. Maybe you didn't realize you were a jealous person, and now you're loving this person, and you're like, I'm a jealous person. Yeah. Or
who are they talking to?
Right? Or like you get sad more easily, you get angry more easily, you get like your emotions are ticked very quickly with this person, and then so you then react like that. And I think it's a yes based on how long you want to let that go on. Like, I'm not saying you don't love your partner as much as the next person who's discussing and stuff like that. That's not true. That's not the case at all. It's just how much you want to let that go on. How long you want to be like, okay, I want to continue this argument and I want to fight and stuff like that. Or do you want to sit back and be like, okay, I love this person so much that I don't want to continue to do this. And I love myself so much I don't want to continue to do this. But I think the more love that you have, just on the basis, the more you continue to grow in love, the less arguments that you will have. Because there will be a point, and I think in not every relationship, because again, some relationships, they don't argue, like, so I've heard good for them, right? Love that for them. But a lot of relationships who had that rocky start, I find that breaking point or that stopping point comes from when they're like, damn, why are we fighting? Like, you know, like that little sound on TikTok that's like, why did we fight? And it's like, I don't know. And it's like, next time we fight, you tell me that we love each other and we love him. And then she's like, oh, but you're such a... You know that one?
No.
Really?
No, I've never heard that before.
I'm gonna find it for you.
I've been
later.
on TikTok a little bit. But
I swear I said it to you. But So that not the face.
I was like, sure.
So, and it's the one where she's like, oh, but you're such a sometimes. And he's like, oh, I am sometimes.
Oh, okay. I don't even know that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like they're kind of fighting on why do we fight, and I feel like every relationship kind of hits that point, and there's that point where you're like, why do we fight? Why am I not just discussing to him how I feel? Why am I not just discussing to her how I feel? Why are we not communicating? If we love each other so much, I want to put in the effort it takes to not make her feel like that, not make him feel like that again. And I feel like that's that part that you get at. And so there's a level of the increased level of love can create more, the increasing of love can create more arguments, but more love does not create more arguments. Oh, okay. Like, and I know that's a kind of hard, tough situation, but I like that you were like a year, and I would say like a year to 2.5. You're still getting to know that person in that year. And then that 2 years is when you're starting to hit that little line of, why are we doing this? Why are we still arguing? Like, what are we doing, you know? And I think that we kind of live in a kind of toxic world, if I'm gonna be honest, like based off of that video, especially that she used obsession. I feel like we
negative comments, and negative viewpoints get more clicks than positive.
Yeah,
like that's what clickbait is.
Yeah,
I crashed my bike and
right.
It's just them like sliding.
No, and I think we do live in that toxic world where we kind of think like, oh, me fighting with you and us always going back and forth means that we love each other a lot.
Should we clickbait this title?
We're just gonna have it clickbait. But I think like we get it. Like, you know, you have that, especially when you're younger, and that's why I say when you're younger, like probably 18 to 20, or maybe even 16 to 20, you're young and you think that kind of toxicity, that fighting constantly over and over means that you love each other and that you care for each other. And in my head, like, I don't speak for everyone, but in my head, that's what it was too. And so when we got into our relationship, I wasn't prepared for you to sit me down and be like, hey, I love you, I'm not doing this with you. Like, in my head, I'm like, well, if you love me, then you would fight me.
Yeah, we'll fight for you.
And I wasn't understanding that.
If you love it, let it go.
Right? And I wasn't and I think that also took a turn on your end too, because my end, it was, if you love somebody, you don't have to fight, you can discuss. And yours was like, if you love somebody, you don't have to let it go, you can discuss. And I think we both came from really different ends of the road. And then we came together and we're like, let's talk. Like, let's just communicate, let's not argue. And like I was saying with like that whole clickbait thing, that obsession thing, I think we have that belief that the more you fight or the more toxic a relationship is, the more you love each other. Like, oh, well, he clearly loves me or she clearly loves me because she keeps coming back and he keeps coming back. Yeah, it's definitely a big problem of like, when do you draw the line of obsession and toxicity and stuff like that and be like, yes, this may be our idea of love, but it's not true love, or it's not necessarily it's not true love, because it truly may be true love, but it's not what love should be like. Love should not be constant battles, you're constantly at war and stuff like that. And that's why I say the more love you have, the less arguments. But based off of her video, the more obsession you have with somebody, the more arguments that will occur.
It's obsession love.
Is obsession love? I don't think so.
No? Okay. Yeah, I think obsession, like, you can be obsessed with like a celebrity, which is not healthy. No. I don't think any obsession, because, you know, it's cute to say, oh, I'm obsessed with you. But if you really are obsessed with somebody, it makes you do irrational things. You do a little scary thing sometimes. And it's, you know, it's take care of your mental health, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. The first letter in OCD is obsessive.
Oh, see, and it's cute to be infatuated with a person, in love with a person, you know. And you know, it's cool to have them on your mind 24/7, and But then there's a level where let's say you guys do have an argument, suddenly you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't function, and it's taking a toll on your physical and your mental, that you need to reflect internally, and because it is entirely okay to love somebody with your body and soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's very okay, and you know, I just always think that people should keep reflecting on the effect people have on them.
I agree.
Okay, not not every interaction with the person is gonna be positive.
I agree.
Right, but if any negative interaction with the person suddenly shuts you down, like dead stop, I don't know. You know, because I think it might change in marriage. Like you can be obsessed with your partner, but I still am just like,
at what level?
Because
levels, I feel like there's not many levels to obsession, because I'm like, obsession, like I was saying, the first letter of OCD is obsessive, and OCD is extremely hard for people. Like it's something that they can't control, and so in my head, obsession means that there's a lack of control there when it comes to that other person. And even like kind of like the movie with Beyonce, like, you know, it was an unhealthy infatuation with somebody else's man, you know. Isn't it called?
I have no clue.
Oh, it is. Oh, you don't know that movie?
Is it a Tyler Perry movie?
No, it's with Beyonce.
Doesn't mean Tyler Perry couldn't produce it.
Is it Tyler Perry?
I don't know.
I don't think so. But either way, it's basically like Beyonce had a man, this Caucasian lady. They almost slept together, but they didn't, because he's like, I got a wife, and then she was obsessed with him. She tried to get him.
I've seen it.
You most likely have.
I mean, why you say like it's like basketball?
I think you've watched everything. But anyway, so it like that level, like when I think of obsession, I think of an uncontrollable urge to like be in their presence. You like you need them, you know. And as much as I say like, oh my God, babe, I need you with me and stuff like that, we both know from both of each other, we always say, but we know that we don't need each other. We want each other, and we constantly choose each other. Yep. And I think with obsession, there's that actual mindset that you really do need this person to breathe.
Like, it's not a choice anymore. Like
it's not. Like it's a lack of lack of control, lack of choice, lack of there's a unhealthy bond that you have to this person that you can't control, because again, like love is a type of bond, but obsession is that binding, that bond that you're not in control of. And I think that's where we kind of get into that space of obsession leads to more arguments, because it absolutely does. Because if you're obsessed with somebody, you're obsessed with their every move, what they do, what they eat, what they breathe, and that can lead definitely to more arguments, because now it's like if they do something that sends you off the rail just a little bit, boom, argument. Like, so in that case, obsession, I don't think it's love. I think a lot of people get it confused with love. I think obsession and attachment are one and the same. And I think people can become attached to a person and become then obsessed with that person. So they may not be the exact same thing, but I do think they can become interchangeable, or at least one can create the other. And again, I don't think either of them are healthy.
So attachment is also unhealthy?
Yes.
Okay. I have no thoughts. No.
Because there are like attachment styles and stuff like that, and you can have a kind of healthy attachment style if you like try to take care of it, but attachment in itself is not healthy. You shouldn't be attached to a person.
Okay, then I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're tethered to them.
Yeah.
Ooh, like a demon. Yeah. Watch horror movies lately.
Yeah.
I think with the attachment and the tethering, you lose a piece of yourself.
You do, absolutely.
And you attach yourself to this person, and not healthy.
No.
You're right. Because I think in losing yourself, it's because you sacrificed a piece of yourself to be attached to this person.
And it's not in the way that we talked about in the first episode or the second. I don't know, some episode.
An episode.
But it's the way of like you're sacrificing a piece of yourself that. No, a large portion of yourself. Not sacrificing things that you enjoy about yourself. You're sacrificing who you are as a person in order to be with this person.
And that's not good.
Period.
Period.
Did we get sidetracked, or is that still on the same?
I think we're still
there.
Still there.
It was just like we did a little runoff for obsession.
Yeah, no, and we've already solidified that what do you call it? That more love doesn't mean more arguments. That you said the increase in love can cause arguments, but not more love causes more arguments.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess in the case, like I was saying, like in the case of like more love, because an increase in love does mean more love. But I feel like the way that it was portrayed in that video, that higher amount of love, that highest amount of love creates more thing, and I don't believe so. I think it is like kind of like the rise in action, you know, like in books and stuff like that, rise in action, climax, fall in action. I think it's that rise in action to that climax that creates all those arguments. It's you're getting to know this person, you're getting to think all this. It's the increase in the build up that's creating the tense situation, and then you hit the climax and, like you said, the peak, and boom, arguments thing, and then you get to that space where you're like, why are we doing this? Like, why don't we just talk? And then you have that fall in action, because it's not necessarily you're falling in love with that person, but you're realizing that that intensity, that uprising, all that building up was never needed in the first place. And now you can come back to a space of just peace, bliss, communication, discussion. And at that point, you don't stop loving the person. It doesn't stop. It continues to grow, but it continues to grow in a way that allows you to realize, okay, I love this person so much, I don't want to continue to argue. I don't want to bicker. I don't want to fight. I don't want to raise my voice. I don't want to hurt them with the words that I may say in these moments. Like, and so I think, like, I guess the way that what I'm trying to say is, the more love you put into a relationship, or the more love you have for a person, the dang it, I just lost it. Golly. But it was like the more love that you have for a person, the more lenient, the more effort that you put in to not hurting them. That's not what I was gonna say. Dang it, it really was. I got it, but I hate when that happens. But like, essentially, like, the more love that you have for the person, the more patient you will be with that person.
Okay.
And I think in that case, it creates less arguments, because the more patient I am with you, the more willing I am to listen, to receive, to take accountability for anything that I did wrong, and continue on with a discussion. And so that's why in my head, I'm like, the more love you have, doesn't, but the increasing of love, that rise in action, that peak, that 1 year to 2 year that you're going up, it hits hard. It does. So I have to say yes and a no, but it's dependent on where you are. Now, if you're 4 years into your relationship and you guys are
Still having crazy arguments.
Fighting like brother and sister. Like, I mean, going back and forth, yelling at the top of your lungs, and you're not listening. We may need time to sit back, reevaluate. I'm not saying you don't love your person at all, but I am saying that there needs to be some form of patience and understanding and communication that needs to be had for you to find out a way to resolve that argument, to turn it into discussions.
Yeah.
So that's, but you know.
You know, I'm agreeing. I'm in agreement with you. That if I don't know a set time, 4 years is a good time, a long enough time, a really long time actually, to be with a person to the point where you guys are opening up to have more than just arguments. Disagreements do pop up, but at 4 years, you should love this person to such a level that you want more for resolution than a win. You want to bring back peace rather than to quell the war, you know, quash the uprising. You know, you want to come to the person as their partner, tell them what's wrong, tell them what's bothering you, try to work through it together instead of pointing fingers and bashing and throwing blame. And yeah, that's the discussion part. That's when it's more love, less arguments kind of thing. And yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you. We ain't going on a tangent today.
I know. I'm proud of us. I really wanted to like talk about it because I think like I kind of like get sad thinking about it, because I mean, I used to be there in my past too. Like I said, like when I first got in a relationship, I really thought that arguing all the time was love. Like I thought if we didn't, and there would be times where we'd go like a week to 2 weeks without arguing, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, she's gonna break up with me. It's not exciting, you know? And when I saw that video, it kind of like triggered me a little, because I'm like, are we still feeding this like information to younger girls or younger boys? Like, is this the kind of like thing that, oh yeah, more fights mean that you just love each other? Like, and I'm not saying more fights or a lot of fights is necessarily a bad thing, because again, the first year of our relationship, maybe after our like 3 months, kind of just hit a tank, and it was like, goodness, you know? So I can't say for certain, oh my gosh, it's so bad, it's terrible, break up, because we made it through, right? But I also don't want people out there to think that you constantly fighting that means love. I think you constantly fighting means growth. That's what I think it means. I think it means that you're both growing. You're both trying to now understand who this person is. You're trying to be more understanding of who you are as a person. Maybe you're still growing within your own body and you don't know who you are. You're trying to figure out your personality, but then you're trying to fuse your personality with a whole nother individual. It's difficult. It's not easy. It's not something that's gonna just click and work in 2.0 seconds. It's not easy. So fights are going to be normal. Sometimes you have more fights than other couples. You're sitting there like, what is wrong with us, you know? But if you're constantly working on it, then that's a great sign. That's the sign that you need to know that you have more love. And I think it's the more energy, the more patience, the more effort that you put into those arguments is how you know how much you love a person.
Yes.
And I don't think we should be measuring love based off of how many arguments, but you should be measuring your love based off of how much effort you're putting into those arguments.
And also, like, I always say that you have to love yourself and you have to know what you want and all, but you also have to think of your partner as having seen this podcast as well. Yeah. And knowing that their importance and what they want and what they need and where they're coming from. Because if you're just like, oh, I know where I'm coming from and I know what's important to me, and you know, you have to look out for your partner as well. And, you know, it's just, I don't know how to say it. It's just like, I don't know, not thinking, because you talk about how you used to think like fighting without the fights, it's boring. Me, I used to be more nonchalant. Like, I'm not looking for a fight. I'm looking for peace. Peace, you know? And I mean, during those times, we weren't too concerned about the other person.
Yeah, I don't
You
think so.
wanted the fights, I wanted the quiet and peace. Eventually, it became, let's resolve. Let's not look for fights, but if fights pop up, let's discuss them and figure out how we get past them. And I think that's one of the most important things, is to realize that you are important, but your partner is also important.
Exactly.
And as I always say, you both should win. So when the arguments do pop up, when you're uncomfortable, think of your partner as also being uncomfortable. Think of your partner as also wanting to get over the hump, to also get into the love discussions, to find the peace, to find the quiet, to find how you guys mesh out. Because don't think that you're the only one looking for a solution. You're the only one looking for a way to grow and something. Think of your partner as being your partner, as wanting similar things that you do. Think of it as teamwork. And then with teamwork, you can move forward, you can grow, and again, grow in love, you know, which probably can lead to a new argument or two, because again, growing is usually something new. It's usually change, it's usually uncomfortable. And there's a saying that's, you know, I recently heard a contradictory saying, but this one is be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I've gone by that saying a lot. It's because everything new is something you haven't done yet. If it's new, that means you haven't done it. So then you're uncomfortable doing it. And I think there's like some imposter syndrome nonsense that goes with it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about relationships. And I think you know, it's okay to be uncomfortable in new territory.
I agree.
To realize that your partner wants to win, you want to win, you both want to win, you both want to grow, you both want to be a good unit together, you both want to project out positivity and love. But also don't just sit in uncomfortability. It shouldn't stay new. It's okay to be new and to be uncomfortable in something new, but work in that something new to move past the uncomfortability.
I agree.
Don't stay in the uncomfortability. The uncomfortability should be temporary. So, this is new territory. I've never been here before. Let's look around. Let's figure out our bearings, grab our bearings, and then and then build a house or whatever together. And then boom, you built the house. Now you're inside, back to uncomfortability. But okay, let's lay out furniture and the layout. Comfortability. So I think you know, it's be comfortable with new uncomfortability, but do not stay in new uncomfortability, because I think in the uncomfortability is where the arguments are.
I think you're right. I agree.
All the new things coming up, the new things you're learning, the new feelings for this person, discussing where the future is going, where you want the future to go, what things you want to leave behind. All that's uncomfortable because it's change. But don't stay and wallow in uncomfortability. Don't, I don't like change. Because then it all starts to seem negative. It starts to seem like it's all arguments. We're unhappy. But have you worked to become happy? Have you tried to move past the new? Okay, let's, for example, you move in together. That's going to be uncomfortable, because if you've never lived together, suddenly two people are coming together, and you guys may have been together for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but now you're seeing each other more often. And you exist in each other's spaces. They're not a roommate. You know, it's not, oh my God, you drank my milk. It's, oh, the milk's out. I need to buy more. We need to buy more.
We need to,
You know, oh, this couch doesn't look right there. I need to move it around. So it's don't stay in the uncomfortability. It's a new space. You guys talk about how it should look, what the ambiance is, much like we want to flow through, what do you want the TV, what's for dinner, and work on it to move past uncomfortability into comfortable territory.
Yeah.
Until a new change arises. But the more new changes and new things come and the uncomfortability comes, the more comfortable you become knowing that an uncomfortability is coming.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been cool. No. Okay, so we're gonna get married. An uncomfortability is gonna come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're gonna have a baby. An uncomfortability is gonna come with it.
Yeah.
Or we're moving houses. Uncomfortability is gonna come with it. Or we've been invited to a work party. An uncomfortability is gonna come with it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is my new friend. Oh, an uncomfortability is gonna come with it. And don't let it bubble down. Don't let it sit.
Yeah.
You know, you met his or her new friend,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I got a weird vibe. Don't sit on the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss it with your partner. Hey, I'm not to be against you getting a new friend, but this person worries me. I got a weird intuition, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's never bad to reassure your partner. Some people need more reassurance than others, but everybody needs reassurance.
Yeah.
And so don't let the uncomfortability get you in a bad spot, get your mood down, get you sad. Approach it, recognize it, and tackle it together. Like, hey, this was happening. What's going on? Da, 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 da. Oh, okay. Then can I hang out with your friend? Can we hang out with your friend and their partner? Or if it's just your friend, can I hang out with your friend? Can I get to know this person that is your new friend or somebody that you're becoming comfortable with, so I can be comfortable with them as well?
Yeah.
And that helps you move past uncomfortability into a comfortable state. And knowing that uncomfortabilities will pop up because everything changes.
Everything's constantly changing.
Then it doesn't jump scare you. You're not surprised.
Ow, jump scare.
Ow, jump scare. It's like, it's coming. You know it's coming. So you can't prepare for every change because, again, it's new. But just know a change is coming. Okay, I'm ready for it. Okay? Like, looking for a new job? You're going to get one. So be ready for maybe working different schedules, maybe longer hours, maybe one of you starts making more money than the other. Like, don't sit there. Okay, let's think of it in a man-woman relationship. Sometimes men get uncomfortable when a woman makes more than them, and she's about to get a raise and she's gonna make more money than you. Don't get uncomfortable with that. Don't let that fester and suddenly, you know, your boys tease you. Oh, she's making more money than you. Now, you know, don't let that be like, oh no, I'm being taken care of. I'm a kid.
Right.
Like, she paying. We went out to dinner and she bought me a watch and she, you know, she paid. Like, we didn't split the bill. Like, embrace the change, get comfortable with it, and move on and get ready for the next one. Like, because the arguments, like, don't help. Discussions help.
They don't.
Partnerships help.
They don't.
Winning together helps. Meshing together helps. And if you really like your partner, you're gonna want to put the work in. If you don't like your partner, leave them alone.
Why don't you know somebody that
you know? But yeah, be uncomfortable with new uncomfortability. Don't sit in uncomfortability.
Yeah, I get it. And I just wanted to like go back to the point of us, just to give them an even deeper example. Like I stated when he sat me down and he's like, I love you, I don't want to argue. That came from a space of like, I don't think that we should be arguing, you know, like, period. Like, let's just let things go. And at that moment, I was like, you're right. But I also came from a space of, okay, well, this is what I'm used to. And I think that part is so important of communicating and talking, because we had to come to a kind of compromise where we wouldn't just let things go, but we wouldn't argue either. And it was like we're gonna sit down and discuss. And another thing that we had to learn in those discussions, and those would then create up more arguments, is that you're a person who likes your space after an argument, and I'm a person who wants to talk about it right away. That was another thing that would cause arguments. We started trying to do discussions, but then my discussions would try to pop up right after the argument, and yours would be like, I need a space. We then again compromised. That turned into more discussions. And it's just like the more that you find out about your person, even with the movies, the media, we again had to discuss like after those are, it would then be like, okay, what are you into? And yes, we'd watch more horror, yes, we'd watch more slice of life, and that was great compromise on your part. But then there would also be moments where I'd have to, you know, like kind of push that about a media away and be like, okay, I don't want to watch it, and kind of push that thing away so we can watch something. And it may be something that you like. We might watch a car thing, we might watch something else, we might watch action, we might watch anything. But I had to kind of put my own, like, oh, I don't want to do this, and my little like picky things and whatever, I had to put that aside as well. And you had to kind of realize like, okay, if I want to watch some media, I'm gonna have to give in with what I watch. And mine was like, I'm gonna have to give in to watching, period. And I think that's the biggest thing with arguments there's rarely any kind of resolution. And the resolutions are like, okay, sorry, it won't happen again. Whereas with discussions, you don't just find a resolution, but you find a compromise, and you find a way that you will, one, not allow that argument again, but you won't allow any arguments that may come like it later. And I think, like, again, like the biggest one was with the media, and it was like, okay, well, let's watch a horror movie, and I'd be like, well, I don't really want to watch a horror movie. And you're like, but you love horror movies, like I'm trying to give you something, you know. But then, you know, so then it then became another thing of like, okay, well, let's actually discuss this. And I'm not saying that ever happened, but I'm saying like before that even got to happen, we discussed ways that we could both compromise, so then no arguments surrounding media would ever happen again. That if something did pop up, we would then just rediscuss. Let's bring back what we stated. How do we go about it again? And then we'd create a positive environment where we never even have to have a discussion again about media. Now we kind of, you're just like, what do you want to watch? And I'm like, oh, there's nothing to watch. And we end up just watching some YouTube video or something like that. But it's definitely a lot less the more that we've grown in love with each other, because now we've just come to spaces of, this is my understanding of how things are working, this is my understanding of how things are working, how do we come together to make both of our understandings kind of correct, but also create a compromise where both of us win, but also both of us have to kind of lose. And I think that's when you step into that more love, less arguments type of space.
Also,
yeah, well, yeah, what's that? Is there anything else you wanted to add, babe? I like this discussion.
I did too.
That was good. I was kind of nervous on how this was gonna go, but I also really want to click on it because I'm like, I really don't want to continue to allow people to feed younger and more impressionable people, like the youth, lies of toxicity or arguments mean love, you know. And I really wanted us to get into it, especially from people who started off with arguments and now we've come to a space of discussions or no discussion at all because they don't even need to occur, you know. And so I think we are a great example. Maybe we're not like the best teachers or whatever, but I think we at least have great examples because we've been through it in order to tell them. So I really appreciate you for doing this with me and seeing your side of things and being open and just giving me everything you needed to get. Good job.
Good job.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I hope you learned something. If you are on the younger side, if that's something that you grew up with, let us know. How did you feel about that? Were you kind of confused? Are you still in that space where you think, where you have that kind of mentality? And I'm not saying it's wrong, but are you there? And what can you do to move away from it? Comment and tell us what you thought about our answers. Do you disagree? Do you agree? But yeah, we're always eager to talk to you guys in the comments. So comment and let us know how you feel. But thank you again so much for tuning in. We hope to see you next week for episode 14.
It's funny if the numbers are wrong.
Right? But next episode. Next episode. And he will be the host for the newcomers. So if you're excited to see what he has to say, then tune in again next Friday, and we will see you guys again soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.